80% of heart attacks and strokes happen because of this. Have you ever heard someone say that cholesterol is the silent killer? That it quietly builds up in your arteries, blocks blood flow, and one day you collapse from a heart attack or stroke without warning? But what if the truth isn't what you've always believed? What if I told you that over 80% of heart attacks and strokes aren't caused by cholesterol at all, but by something far more dangerous, something that can kill in just 5 seconds? Would you believe me? Even more alarming, it doesn't just silently form inside your body, it can be triggered by the most familiar things: a glass of wine, a sleepless night, a diuretic pill, or even running a marathon. And you know the cruelest part? Most of us are never warned. Doctors don't mention it, families don't know, and when the pain strikes, it's already too late. So what's the real culprit? Why do some people with very low cholesterol still collapse in the middle of the day? And most importantly, how can you protect yourself and your loved ones from this starting today? Don't take your eyes off the screen, because right now I'm going to dissect the real killer hiding in the shadows and give you a natural, science-backed solution. 1. The real culprit: blood clots. Have you ever wondered, if cholesterol isn't the main cause, what actually makes the heart stop beating? The truth is, in most heart attacks and strokes, the real culprit is a blood clot, also known as thrombosis. It may sound unfamiliar, but in reality, it's a completely normal function of the body. When a blood vessel is injured, the body quickly creates a patch made of platelets and proteins to seal the wound. Without this process, even a small cut could make you bleed to death. So why does a protective mechanism become a killer? The danger lies in a clot forming at the wrong time in the wrong place. When it develops inside an artery that feeds the heart or brain, it immediately blocks blood flow, depriving the cells beyond the blockage of oxygen and killing them within minutes. Can you imagine the destruction it causes? Researchers at Clinic Barcelona have shown that the majority of heart attacks and strokes are actually the result of thrombosis, not arteries full of cholesterol. In fact, a study from UCLA revealed that nearly 75% of patients hospitalized for heart attacks had cholesterol levels within the so-called safe range according to current guidelines. So why do we still cling to the cholesterol is the culprit story? Perhaps because it's been repeated so long, so often, that it has become an unquestioned truth. Imagine your arteries as a busy highway. Cholesterol is like loose gravel scattered along the shoulder. It might make things a little slippery, but the real traffic stopper is a truck that flips sideways and blocks the entire road. A blood clot is that truck, and the danger is it can flip in just 5 seconds, whether you're asleep, eating lunch, or working out. What's even more frightening is that a blood clot doesn't always form because a plaque has ruptured. Often, it's triggered by something else entirely: blood that's too sticky, blood flow that slows down, or inflammation and damage to the vessel walls. This is what medicine calls Virchow's triad, the deadly trio. And if you understand this mechanism, you'll know why so many seemingly harmless habits can become the hidden triggers behind a clot. So what makes your blood suddenly freeze in seconds? And what are the factors quietly planting a ticking bomb inside your body? Let's uncover each of these dangerous triggers right now. 2. The invisible triggers of blood clots. If a blood clot is the killer in the shadows, then the things that activate it are the detonators. And surprisingly, these detonators don't just come from illness or injury. They can start with the most familiar things you encounter every day. Have you ever thought that a cigarette, a beer, or even a marathon could ignite a stroke? Let's start with cigarette smoke. When you inhale it, whether actively or passively, hundreds of toxic chemicals go straight into your bloodstream, powerfully inflaming the endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels. Just one exposure can make the vessel walls rough, creating the perfect surface for platelets to stick and kickstart the clotting process. Still think smoking only hurts your lungs? Next is air pollution and industrial chemicals. Breathing polluted air over time fills your blood with free radicals, molecules that destroy endothelial cells like acid-corroding metal. Do you live near a major road or an industrial zone? If so, you could be in a high-risk area without even knowing it. Then there's alcohol. It overloads the liver, allows toxins to spill into the blood, triggers inflammation, and makes blood more likely to clot. On top of that, birth control pills and hormone therapy are proven to increase clotting risk, a fact many postmenopausal women are never told. Does this sound relevant to you or someone you love? And there's one silent enemy we often underestimate: psychological stress. A Harvard study found that chronic stress increases white blood cell production, which makes the blood more prone to clotting. In fact, after the death of a loved one, your risk of a heart attack can spike 20-fold, a phenomenon doctors call broken heart syndrome. Have you ever experienced such a shock? Let's not forget surgery and high-intensity endurance training. Both put enormous strain on the body, triggering strong clotting mechanisms. And if you think eating healthy is enough protection, remember this: refined carbs, like white bread and sugar, cause powerful inflammation and make your blood stickier. This is why people with diabetes face a 4 to 5 times higher risk of blood clots. All these factors converge on a single point. They damage or alter the flow of blood, activating the natural clotting process, but at the wrong time. So, who suffers the most from these triggers? Could you or someone you care about be in the highest risk group? In the next part, I'll reveal the exact group of people whose blood clots prefer to hunt and why they're the easiest targets. 3. The highest risk groups. Have you ever wondered, if anyone can develop a blood clot, why are some people hit more often, faster, and with far more dangerous consequences? The truth is, there are certain favorite targets for this silent killer, and sadly, most of them are older adults. First, postmenopausal women. This is a stage when the body undergoes a complete hormonal shift. Many are advised to take calcium supplements to prevent osteoporosis, but they're rarely warned about one crucial fact: too much calcium can make the blood thicker, increasing the risk of clot formation. Some studies even show that when calcium levels in the blood are high, vascular calcification speeds up, turning your highway into a hardened, blockage-prone road. Are you taking calcium every day without checking how much your body truly needs? Next, people taking diuretics or blood pressure medications. These drugs often cause the body to lose potassium and magnesium, 2 essential minerals that help regulate heart rhythm and keep blood flowing smoothly. When you're deficient, the heart is more prone to arrhythmia, and blood can pool more easily, creating the perfect conditions for clot formation. Have you ever experienced nighttime leg cramps or sudden rapid heartbeat while on these medications? Then there are those with cardiovascular disease or a history of stroke. Their vascular system is already damaged, so even the smallest trigger can form a clot. People with diabetes also belong to this group, as persistently high blood sugar causes chronic inflammation of the endothelium, like a surface being repeatedly scratched, creating an ideal environment for clots to develop. And here's one group many never think about: people who have just gone through a major emotional shock. Extreme stress doesn't just send blood pressure soaring, it also activates a surge of hormones and immune cells that make the blood boil and ready to clot. Do you realize your heart health and your emotions are actually more closely linked than you ever imagined? These groups are not only more likely to develop blood clots, but when a clot does form, the consequences are often far more severe. And the worst part? Many of them still believe that simply eating less fat and lowering cholesterol is enough to protect their heart. But is cholesterol really the #1 enemy? Or is it just a very small part of the story? In the next part, I'll challenge this long-standing belief and show you why lowering cholesterol doesn't necessarily mean lowering your cardiovascular risk. 4. Cholesterol is not the only villain. Have you ever confidently walked out of a clinic after hearing your doctor say, "Your cholesterol levels are perfectly normal"? That feeling of relief is wonderful, isn't it? But here's a truth that shocks many people. Nearly 75% of patients hospitalized for a heart attack have cholesterol levels within the so-called safe range. This isn't a number I made up. It comes from a UCLA study on thousands of patients. So what's really going on? If cholesterol isn't high, why does the heart still stop? In reality, cholesterol is just one piece of the cardiovascular health puzzle. It's like only checking your tire pressure while ignoring the brakes, engine, and steering system. What do you think would happen if you drove like that on a highway? Science has shown that most heart attacks or strokes start with a small tear in the blood vessel wall. The body immediately reacts by creating a blood clot to seal it. If the clot is small and dissolves quickly, you won't notice a thing. But if it's large, dense, and blocks blood flow, the result is instant. And what determines this is not just your cholesterol level, but also inflammation and clotting tendency. Inflammation can come from hundreds of sources: high blood sugar, infections, chronic stress, pollution. These factors make the endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels, rough, allowing platelets and fibrin to stick together. This is the ideal breeding ground for a clot, no matter how low your cholesterol is. Have you ever thought about checking the level of inflammation in your body? Another factor is the production of nitric oxide, NO, a compound that helps blood vessels relax and keeps blood flowing smoothly. When NO is lacking, blood becomes lazy to move, and clots are more likely to form. A sedentary lifestyle, avoiding sunlight, and a diet low in fresh whole foods can cause NO levels to plummet, a reality for many older adults. So cholesterol is only the tip of the iceberg. What you really need to protect your heart is to keep your vessel walls healthy, your blood from becoming too sticky, and your inflammation levels as low as possible. But how can you achieve that? Is there a natural, safe way, without relying on strong blood thinners, to protect yourself from blood clots? In the next part, I'll share simple yet surprisingly powerful strategies, all backed by science.